On July 19, 1989, United Airlines Flight 232, a DC-10 aircraft, was en route from Denver to Chicago when it suffered a catastrophic engine failure that led to the loss of all hydraulic control systems, making the aircraft almost impossible to steer. What followed was one of the most remarkable emergency landings in aviation history. Thanks to the heroic efforts of the flight crew and their ability to improvise under extreme pressure, 185 out of the 296 people on board survived a crash that could easily have claimed every life. The incident. July 19, 1989, 2:09 p.m., Central Daylight Time. United Airlines Flight 232 took off from Denver Stapleton International Airport, bound for Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. On board were 285 passengers and 11 crew members. Catastrophic engine failure. About an hour into the flight, cruising at 37,000 feet over Iowa, the aircraft's tail-mounted engine, number 2 engine, suffered a massive failure. The engine's fan disc, a crucial rotating part, exploded, sending debris flying into the rear of the aircraft. The damage severed all 3 of the aircraft's hydraulic lines, leading to the complete loss of control over the plane's control surfaces, ailerons, rudders, and elevators. Loss of hydraulics. In a DC-10, as with most aircraft, hydraulics are essential for steering, maintaining altitude, and controlling descent. When the hydraulic systems failed, the crew, led by Captain Al Haynes, realized they had almost no control over the aircraft's direction, altitude, or speed. The crew's heroic response. The situation seemed dire. Without hydraulic controls, there was almost no way to steer the aircraft or even slow it down. Yet, through extraordinary teamwork and improvisation, the crew managed to find a way to fly the plane, albeit in a limited fashion. Engine thrust control. Captain Haynes, First Officer William Records, Flight Engineer Dudley Dvorak, and an off-duty United Airlines pilot named Dennis Fitch, who happened to be a DC-10 flight instructor, worked together to manage the crisis. Fitch suggested using the 2 remaining engines, mounted on the wings, to adjust the aircraft's speed and direction. By increasing thrust on one engine and reducing it on the other, they could make rough turns and control the plane's descent, though the system was far from precise. Guiding the aircraft to Sioux City, the crew declared an emergency and decided to divert to Sioux Gateway Airport in Sioux City, Iowa, the closest viable landing site. Despite their best efforts to control the plane using engine thrust alone, the aircraft was flying in an unstable pattern called phugoid oscillation, where it would climb and descend unpredictably. The crew warned Sioux City air traffic controllers of the dire situation. The emergency landing. The crash landing. As Flight 232 approached Sioux City, the crew knew they had only one chance to get the plane down. Firefighters, emergency personnel, and rescue teams had already been mobilized on the ground, prepared for the worst. At 4 p.m., the plane came in for a landing, but because of the loss of hydraulics, it was coming in faster and steeper than normal. When the plane touched down on runway 22, its right wing hit the ground, causing the aircraft to cartwheel, break apart, and burst into flames. The aftermath. Despite the crash landing, 185 people miraculously survived the incident, although 111 tragically lost their lives. The fact that any survived, given the severe damage to the aircraft and the chaotic landing, was nothing short of miraculous. Many of the survivors owed their lives to the efforts of the crew, who maintained control for as long as possible and prepared the passengers for the crash. The investigation. Cause of the engine failure. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, launched a thorough investigation into the accident. It was determined that the fan disc in the tail engine, number 2 engine, had a manufacturing defect, a tiny crack that had gone undetected during maintenance inspections. Over time, this crack grew, weakening the metal until it exploded mid-flight. Hydraulic system vulnerability. The complete loss of hydraulics was a key focus of the investigation. The DC-10, like most planes, had multiple hydraulic systems, but the design placed all of these systems near the rear engine. When the engine exploded, it took out all 3 hydraulic lines at once, leaving the pilots with no conventional means of controlling the plane. This led to changes in the design and redundancy of hydraulic systems in commercial aircraft to prevent such a situation from happening again. The aftermath and legacy. Redesign of aircraft systems. Following the investigation, the aviation industry made significant changes to the design of hydraulic systems and maintenance protocols. Aircraft manufacturers improved hydraulic redundancy so that multiple systems would not be affected by a single point of failure. Crew resource management, CRM, training. The incident also highlighted the importance of crew resource management, CRM, a system of training that focuses on teamwork, communication, and the effective use of all available resources during a crisis. Captain Haynes credited the crew's CRM training for their ability to work together so effectively during the emergency. This concept has since become a standard part of pilot training worldwide. Recognition of the crew's heroism. The crew members of Flight 232 were widely recognized for their calmness under pressure and their resourcefulness in a near-impossible situation. Captain Haynes, First Officer Records, Flight Engineer Dvorak, and Dennis Fitch were all praised for their actions, which saved many lives. They received multiple awards, including the FAA's highest honor, and became advocates for improved aviation safety. Heroic actions of the first responders. The response of Sioux City's emergency services was also instrumental in saving lives. Because of advanced preparation and quick action, many survivors were pulled from the wreckage and treated for their injuries within minutes of the crash. Conclusion. The story of United Airlines Flight 232 is a remarkable testament to human ingenuity, courage, and survival. Despite a catastrophic failure that left them without control of the aircraft, the crew's ability to work together and use their limited resources saved the lives of many. The incident led to major improvements in aviation safety and remains a powerful example of the importance of teamwork and professionalism in the face of disaster.